Hello trader, welcome back to another weekly forex forecast for the second week of May 2025. As we have seen just last day of trading week, there was NFP data has come out, and we can see that the market after this non-farm employment change has a little bit of change in sentiment, as non-farm employment change has come out to be a little higher than expected, while we see that average hourly earnings is still lower than expected. So that data has given a little strength on DXY, though it was in a strong downtrend. What I think that this week we might see some change in the market sentiment. So with that being said, this week we are looking at DXY, Euro dollar, British pound, US dollar, AUD, USD, dollar CAD, XAU, USD, dollar yen, and GBP, JPY. Before I look at one by one all of these traders, make sure you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So with that being said, let's begin this week's weekly forex forecast. Okay, so let's begin first of all with DXY, as DXY will give us clear direction of euro dollar and all the USD pair, including XAU USD. So DXY, starting with first of all bigger picture, looking at the monthly chart to see overall direction in this market. So from the monthly, we can see that the monthly candle closed with a huge bearish candle, with a candle close below the support level, followed by with a long weekend. The market has broken all this support level and candle close below that, the sign that we might see a potential further weak fill in that market. Now as this candle open with the NFP, we see that initial bounce with the DXY data, and that might give initial bounce here this week. What I think that DXY might retest the support of this monthly opening and could try to retest back up again, as we see that there is a strength on DXY with this data that might lead the price to back to retest this long-term support here on the monthly. So if we look at here, this is an important support here, support here, support here, which is turning resistance. So with that being said, this week we might see initial pullback and then potentially bounce to retest that long-term support level as a resistance. So looking at the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly downtrend here. Starting from here, we saw there was a big drop followed by narrow pullback, and we can see another drop. Back to back 2 weeks, we saw that the market had in a pullback. Now what we can see, the price has bounced from this very long-term support level, expecting now after initial pullback to move back up again to retest that previous support, which is turning resistance here. Now if we look at the daily chart here, we can spot an inverted head and shoulder formation on the daily, followed by last day of trading week have formed a long week candle, which is a doji. Now what I think that, as we can see that this is a downtrend here, and the market has formed a structure which showing a potential reversal pattern, and therefore what we could see that initially the market to retest and then slowly potentially bounce back up to this gap open, where you can see also important level of the monthly and weekly support, which is turning resistance. So this could be the potential wave for the upcoming week on DXY. Now if we look at the intraday time frame here, is we can see there is a sharp bullish engulfer, and at the same time the market is forming series of higher low and also approaching an important level of liquidity. So there is a doji as well as gap open. So initially we could see with the market open initial pullback respecting this candlestick pattern, we could see potential bounce here on DXY. Now at the same time, if over the weekend, if there is any change, in a big change in the market sentiment, we still can expect for deeper drop here. So therefore, based on the price action confirmation, if we see that with the market open, the market has tested this level and respecting this trend line, rejecting to the upside, we can expect it to bounce back up, and this could be the potential wave for the upcoming week on DXY. Now let's look at euro dollar based on how DXY perform, as this is just a mirror of DXY. Looking at monthly chart here, we can see that from the monthly, this is the monthly price action. We're back to back 3 months strong bullish price action. Previous monthly candle close with a long wick at the top, and what we could see that this month, as the market has formed this long wick candle, expecting after retest to drop down again for deeper pullback in that area from the monthly perspective. Now this is the monthly previous resistance, expecting the euro dollar to retest and then to potentially continue to drop in this market. Now looking at weekly chart here, what we can see from the weekly, this is the weekly price action where there is a weekly impulse from this level followed by a pin bar. Now this week we see that with the market close with a long wick on both sides, expecting for the price to retest and then to trend down here to create a new lower low in this market. So looking at daily chart here on euro dollar, we can see that from the daily there is a head and shoulder here, and that head and shoulder may play out for further drop here, and also we can see the price approaching this previous resistance, which is turning support here, and therefore any upside pullback here can give potential trend in that market to drop to that support to create a new lower low. So from the 4-hour chart here, we can see that there is a back-to-back quite a few long wick candles. That's the strong liquidity gap in this market. Therefore, what we can expect in euro dollar for the market to potentially to retest and then to trend back down here to retest this swing low. This could be the potential trend continuation on the lower time frame on euro dollar in this upcoming week. So therefore any lower time frame liquidity gap here can look for potential selling opportunity based on price action confirmation. Now let's look at GBPUSD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have in this market. Looking at monthly chart here on GBPUSD, we can see that this is the monthly candle closed on GBPUSD with a huge bullish candle. Now we can see that on GBPUSD, like unlike other USD pairs, the price from the monthly has crossed this with a big ATR candle to this key level on the monthly and closed back below, while euro dollar and AUD USD and other instrument we saw that there was a closed back above. Now GBPUSD might get little weaker than euro dollar and AUD USD. Now we can see that GBPUSD, this is the huge ATR candle formation from here on GBPUSD from the monthly, expecting after retest for the price to potentially drop down here to create a new lower low. Now if we look at the weekly chart here on British pound US dollar, we can see that from the weekly the price has crossed this high, and also we can see there is a cross of this high, grab multiple times liquidity from the top from the weekly, and this is the weekly pin bar. Back to back two important candlestick pattern has got a rejection from the key level, can give potentially downward pressure here on GBP USD. Now looking at daily chart here, we can see that there is a daily narrow doji formation with a head and shoulder here on British pound US dollar, and with that daily doji formation, expecting for this price to potentially retest and then to trend down here to the support level to create a new lower low in this market. Looking at the 4-hour chart here on GBPUSD, we can see that from the 4-hour this is an upside move here, followed by multiple time the market the candle has closed with a multiple liquidity grab. Here is the liquidity grab, the market drop, and also here is a liquidity grab drop, there is a liquidity grab drop. So whenever the market is going back up, grabbing the liquidity and then dropping back down here on British pound US dollar, expecting for the market on the lower time frame to grab deeper liquidity and then potentially to trend back down here. So that could be this week's wave on GBPUSD. As soon as you will find price action confirmation, we can look for selling opportunity in this market. Now let's look at AUD USD. Now we can see that with some fundamental AUD USD showing very different than GBP USD and euro dollar. Now let's look at the monthly chart to see overall picture in this market. Now from the monthly, previous months we have seen that AUD USD had a very sharp rejection from this support level with a big long week bullish candle. Now this month we can see the market from this monthly level, we can see the price has got initial bounce here on the monthly, and with that bounce expecting for the price to retest and then to potentially trend back up to create a new higher high in this market. So looking at the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly the market is maintaining that series of higher low, and with that series of higher low formation on a EURUSD expecting for the price to retest this previous resistance, which is turning support here, and then to return back again to create a new higher high in this market. Now looking at daily chart here on a EURUSD, we can see that from the daily, this is the daily price action where there is a daily stronger impulse followed by this correction. The market is forming series of higher low here on AUD USD, and we can expect for the price to come down for a pullback and then to return back again to create a new higher high in this market. Now from the 4-hour chart here, we can see there is an initial impulse here, and that could lead that price potentially retest this monthly previous resistance, turning support here. We can see that this is an important level of long-term resistance here, and also acted here as a support in the past, expecting we could see that the market to potentially continue to the upside for deeper liquidity grab and then to return back again for deeper pullback. So this could be the wave for the upcoming week on AUD USD. Now let's look at dollar CAD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have, looking at monthly chart to see overall picture. Now from the monthly, we can see that dollar CAD, as this is the third month the price has dropped to that monthly support, and what we can expect now on dollar CAD for the price to retest and then potentially to bounce a little further, though we could see long term here deep drop further on the monthly, as it's just this is the second week of the month. This week we still could expect further bullish move, as we have seen there was a big drop. A deeper pullback is necessary for this further drop in this market. Now dropping down to the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly the market was forming series of lower high from the weekly with a multiple liquidity grab here, and with that multiple liquidity grab, as DXY has formed a bearish candle. Now what I think that this week we might see that potential retest of this trend line and then to drop back down here to create a new lower low. Now looking at daily chart here on a dollar CAD, we can see that from the daily, this is a daily big drop followed by the market was forming series of lower high in that area on dollar CAD, expecting for this price to potentially to retest and then to revert back again to the major direction of the trend. So looking at the 4-hour chart here on dollar CAD, we can see that in this lower time frame the market was consolidating with a series of lower high formation, and what we can expect this week for the price to potentially deep move back up again, as with the strengthening of DXY, and potentially to continue to the major direction of the trend, as this is an important previous resistance. This could be the wave for this upcoming week on dollar CAD. Now let's look at XAUSD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we may have on gold. As you can see, past week was a big day for gold, and looking at monthly chart on gold to see what kind of price action it is forming. Now the first week of the month, after this monthly long week candle closed this month, we can see that from this level here, from this previous resistance line on XAUUSD, the market after a retest it started to drop here. Now if we look at the historical perspective in this market, we can see that there is an inverted head and shoulder, strong breakout, pullback, and we can see back-to-back 4 months here on XAUUSD from this resistance line started to drop, and what I think that as the market has made a big move from this all-time high, the price has started to drop here, expecting on XAUSD for the from the monthly to drop down here to the support level. Now if we look at the weekly chart here on XAUSD, we can see that with this long wick doji formation, this weekly candle closed with a bearish price action, and as this is the weekly support turning resistance, I think this week we may see XAUSD potentially to remain bearish, though it is a long-term bull market, and lower time frame we still could see potential downtrend here as there is a sharp rejection in this market. Now if we look at the daily chart to see how the price action is evolving, we can see that from the daily, here's the daily price action. There was a long week daily bearish candle, followed by there is another liquidity grab here, and as the market grab liquidity multiple times, smoothly coming down with a downtrend, this trend may continue further. There are two probable scenarios: is for the price to come down here further to retest this swing high, which is the previous resistance turning support, or you could see that deeper drop here for this market to retest this long-term support level here on the daily on XAUUSD. Now looking at the 4-hour chart here, what we can see that this market, there is a huge rejection followed by this correction, and the market is maintaining that series of lower high in this market. Now with that series of lower high formation, expecting for the price to potentially as there is a new daily and weekly close, we may see for the price to retest this support here, which is turning resistance, and then to trend back down again in the direction of the trend. So this is where we may find potential trading opportunity in this market. So any upside bounce can give us potential selling opportunity in this market. As we can see, this market is smoothly maintaining that series of lower high in this market. So as soon as we will find suitable entry on XAUSD, we will be looking for going short with a high probability trade setup. Now let's look at dollar yen and GBP JPY. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have. Now looking at monthly, we can see that dollar yen also with the back-to-back 4 months bearish move drop to that monthly support level, and from this monthly support with the new monthly open, we have seen as usual there is a initial bounce here. Now as this is a the market has bounced from the monthly support level, and it's a long-term historically bull market, we could see now a pullback and potentially to remain bullish for this week, as well as the market has got rejection from here. Any drop to the support can give further bullish opportunity on the lower time frame on dollar yen. Now looking at the weekly chart here, we can see that from the weekly from here long week a drop, pullback, long week drop, and every time the market is approaching that level, getting a rejection here. Now the past week we saw a long week here, and with that long week this week, what I think that the market may come for a pullback, as this is the previous resistance which is turning support here, expecting dollar yen after retest to bounce back up to create a new higher high in this market. Now looking at daily chart here on dollar yen, we can see that from the daily there is an inverted head and shoulder here on the daily time frame, and with that inverted head and shoulder there is a long week candle expecting a retest and then potentially to revert back again in the major direction of the trend. Now looking at 4-hour chart here, we can see that from the intraday there is a sharp bullish bounce followed by a pullback with a long week candle. Now this could be the potential that the market may continue to uptrend here to this level where there is an important resistance. So any pullback in this market on the lower time frame may give us potential entry to the upside here. So depending on the price action confirmation, we might see that dollar yen coming for a pullback and then having a potential bounce to the upside for this move for short-term perspective on this instrument. Now let's look at GBP JPY. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have. Looking at monthly chart on GJ, we can see that from the monthly, the market is forming series of lower high on GJ, and with that series of lower high formation, previous monthly close with a big long wick candle, and with that long wick candle, the price from this monthly support, as soon as the candle closed, the price has got a bounce here, and with that bounce, what we could see for the price to, after retest, to revert back again to the upside to create a new higher high. Now looking at the weekly chart here on GJ, we can see that back-to-back 4 weeks the market is in a bull move, expecting for this week initial pullback and still to remain bullish, as we have seen the market has got rejection from a very important weekly support level, expecting for the price to potentially to remain to the upside to create a new higher high in this market. Now looking at daily chart here on GBP JPY, we can see that from the daily there is a long wick, sharp rejection here, maintaining series of higher low in this market on the daily, and with this daily bull candle. Now this last day of trading week form a narrow doji, expecting for a pullback and then to remain bullish to create a new higher high in this market. Now looking at 4-hour chart here on GJ, we can see that there was a big bounce, pullback to narrow doji formation. We might see further deeper pullback here for a potential retest of this neckline that we can expect for the market to potentially bounce back to the upside to this resistance line. This could be the wave for the upcoming week on GBP JPY. Traders, I hope that you enjoyed this education and analysis for the upcoming week. If you enjoyed, make sure you give a thumbs up, and also for more updated education analysis, you can stay connected by joining the Telegram channel. You can find link below this video.